Thing 1 2 1 2.
1 2 mic check. Microphone testing. Good afternoon.
Sound check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Mic testing. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Mic testing. 1 2 1 2. Sound check. Yes. 1 2 1 2. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Mic testing. 1 2 1 2. One, two, 1 2. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Yes.
He's not taller than me. He's not shorter than me. Yeah.
May we all remain standing. May we all remain standing for the national anthem. Thank you very much. We may be seated. It's a very good afternoon, which is almost turning into evening, and a resounding welcome to the Sunshine City, which is the capital city of our beautiful country, Zimbabwe. My name is Tariro, and I'm going to be directing the program this afternoon. The guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, H. Idi Mnangagwa. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Mozambique, H.E.F.J. Nyusi. Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Retired General Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga. Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable K.C.D. Mohadi. UNAIDS Executive Director, Ms. Winnie Byanyima. Society for AIDS in Africa and ICASA 2023 President, Dr. P.D. Parerenyatwa. Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Harare Metropolitan Province, Comrade C. Tawenga. Minister of Health and Child Care, who is also the Vice President of ICASA 2023, Dr. Mombeshora. Regional Directors of World Health Organization, UNICEF, UNAIDS, and UNFPA. Government ministers here present, ministers from neighboring countries, members of the Diplomatic Corps, UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator, Mr. Edward Callon, and heads of UN agencies in Zimbabwe. Members of Parliament here present, Chief Secretary and Deputy Chief Secretaries here present, Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Health and Child Care, Dr. Aspect Maunganidze, and other Permanent Secretaries here present. Society for AIDS in Africa and ICASA 2023 Director, Luke Bodia. Board Chair for the National AIDS Council, Mrs. Margaret Mehlomakulu, and other NAC board members here present. The Chief Executive Officer for the National AIDS Council, who is also head of ICASA 2023 Local Secretariat, Dr. Bernard Matsima. Service Chiefs, Development Partners, members of the media who are my colleagues, delegates from over 100 countries, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, we request your permission that we write around these protocols for all speakers. Thank you. Permission granted, and this is a note to all our speakers. This is the official opening of the 22nd edition of ICASA, the International Conference on AIDS and STIs in Africa. And it is brought to you by Society for AIDS in Africa and ICASA. And for this year, with support from the government of Zimbabwe. Let's clap hands for ICASA, for SAR, and the government of Zimbabwe. Despite the great inroads and successes, we need to note and be concerned, all of us here. And why am I saying that we need to be concerned? This links to this edition's theme, which is talking about and reminding us that AIDS is not over. We need to address inequalities, accelerate inclusion and innovation. Currently, 30 million people who are living with HIV are on treatment. I think we need to clap hands for ourselves on that. However, worryingly, we still have 9.2 million people who are not on treatment. And who are these people? Mostly they are people who are actually facing those inequalities that I initially mentioned. And we need to find those people. As much as we look at what has worked and what has not worked. It's important that we remember AIDS is not over. When COVID-19 ravaged the global world, we tended to then forget these other responses that we need to continue carrying forward. So let's just take note. As we continue with our program, we are going to have the introduction of the UN system by the UN resident coordinator, Mr. Edward Tallow. Mr. Tallow.
The guest of honor, His Excellency, Dr. Emerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. Please allow me to ride on existing protocols already established. Good afternoon. Your Excellency, Dr. Emerson Mnangagwa, President of the Republic of Zimbabwe. My task this afternoon is simple: to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished UN principals in this conference. Seated right on your left here, we have the UN AIDS Executive Director, Madam Winnie Byanyima. Next to her is the Regional Director of WHO, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti. And last but not the least is Madam Lydia Zigomo, one of ours from Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, besides the UN principals who will be featuring in the program this afternoon, we have 22 UN entities behind your government supporting not only the ICASA organizations in various capacities, but also with the government of Zimbabwe in ending AIDS, supporting the country to achieve its vision to become an upper middle income society by 2030 and Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. Your Excellency, as we come together to deliberate on the International Conference on AIDS and Sexually Transmitted Infections, I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge and congratulate your government for bringing us together. When it comes to such extensive work, besides your government's effort, I would like to acknowledge our First Lady, Her Excellency Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, for her dedication to community engagement, investment, and her extensive work in response to HIV, STI, and other noble causes, including fighting drugs and substance abuse among youths as main drivers for HIV infections and other social terrors. Your Excellency, it is heartening to see strong engagement of the Mother of the Nation through translation of your whole of society and whole of government approach. Her efforts go beyond HIV and encompasses broader mobilizations, which endeavors for Zimbabwe's Vision 2030 and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal by 2030. Equally, here today, I'm honored to see the UN delegation is being represented by 3 powerful women in UN leadership, led by UN AIDS Executive Director, responsible for coordinating 11 UN joint program agencies in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Your Excellency, what have we learned over time? When women are empowered and take their rightful space and places in society, the transformation takes place. Inequalities are addressed, and inclusion and innovations are accelerated, not only to tackle HIV and STI, but also work towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Zimbabwe has witnessed firsthand the transformative potential of devolution and community approach to addressing inequality and accelerating mechanisms and innovation in various aspects, such as the mobilization of resources under the AIDS levy, the establishment of schools and teachers throughout the country, efforts in combating natural disasters like Cyclone Idai, and more recently in tackling the challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. During my 2 years in the country and my visit in various areas, I have seen that the government of Zimbabwe recognizes the importance of community leadership and has placed a strong emphasis on devolution. This highlights the value of empowering communities to fashion solutions to the challenges they face, and not only in ending AIDS and SDI, but also in other areas of development challenges. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, while Zimbabwe has made commendable progress in the fight against HIV epidemic and STI, as in other countries, there are still enormous challenges to overcome in achieving the goals of ending AIDS and STI. These challenges include disparities in access to HIV services based on age, gender, and geography. Adolescent girls and young women are disproportionately affected by new infections, while children and key populations have limited access to services. The national scale and implementation of programs targeting these groups is yet to be achieved. To effectively end the pandemic in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, we must undertake 4 critical actions. 1, we need to scale up HIV prevention and treatment programs to cover all subpopulation groups with a particular focus on adolescent girls and young women. 2nd, community leadership and the engagement of men are crucial in addressing social norms related to gender equality and gender-based violence. 3rd, enacting and enforcing laws and policies for the population group is essential, as well as sustaining initiatives like social contracting and strengthening evidence generation. 4th, adequate funding and economic opportunities should be allocated to communities, as this will connect individuals to person-centered public health services, foster trust, and build providers' accountability. Additionally, ending stigma and discrimination is a crucial aspect of ensuring that no one is left behind. And as we say here in Zimbabwe, no place is left behind too. Your Excellency, distinguished guest, HIV/AIDS remains a threat to socio-economic progress and has the potential to destabilize society and hinder human development. Addressing the underlying factors contributing to the spread of HIV, such as gender inequality and practices that perpetuate sexual and gender-based violence, is crucial. These discussions emphasize the need to prioritize HIV/AIDS prevention and care with universal health coverage and the integration of HIV services into primary healthcare systems, with a strong emphasis on strengthening community health systems. Political commitments, increased financing, innovation, research, and advocacy for human rights and gender equality are key to this paradigm shift. By addressing these areas, we are and we can overcome barriers and accelerate our progress towards ending HIV/AIDS. This requires investment at community and grassroots level, including addressing inequalities. Accelerating inclusions and innovation are critical. Distinguished delegates, I can assure you that you have come to the right place, where you can take leaf from Zimbabwe's approach of community engagement and devolve innovation hubs, not to only end HIV, STI, and achieve the SDG goals for sustainable development. I wish you all a very successful deliberation, and welcome to Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Talon, for the introduction and the welcome remarks. It's my pleasure and honor to invite the Minister of State and Devolution for Harare Metropolitan Province, to welcome us to the Sunshine City of Harare. Comrade Charles Tawengwa.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, Chariro Makanga. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Nyusi, Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, General Retired Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga, Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Retired K.C.D. Mohadi, Honorable Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Dr. Mombeshora, and all ministers here present. 2023 ICASA President, Dr. David Parere Nyatwa, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Rushwaya, Chairman of the Public Service Commission, Dr. Vincent Hungwe, Service Chiefs here present, Secretary for Health and Child Care, Dr. Eima Ungadidze, and all permanent secretaries here present, senior government officials, His Worship the Mayor of the City of Harare, Councillor Love Mochi Tengu, Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS representative, Ms. Winnie Bayama, representative from the Regional Office for Africa on World Health Organization, WHO, Dr. Chindo Rebecca Moeti, representative from the Malaria Vaccines in Africa, Professor Adrian Hill, United Nations Population Fund representative, Dr. Natalian Cannon, our ambassadors, representatives from the community, distinguished delegates, comrades and friends, ladies and gentlemen. I feel greatly honored and pleased to welcome you, Your Excellency, and everyone here present at the International Conference on AIDS and STIs in Africa, ICASA 2023, as Harare Metropolitan Province. We are greatly excited to be hosting the opening ceremony of ICASA 2023, and on behalf of all the residents of Harare Metropolitan Province, I would like to warmly welcome you all. We are proud to mention that Harare Metropolitan Province has a decentralized developmental structure that also covers the area of HIV and AIDS. The HIV and AIDS structure incorporates all government ministries, departments, agencies, that is MDAs, non-governmental organizations. As a result, there is a robust and vibrant HIV and AIDS programming in the entire country. This has significantly lowered the new HIV infections. These programs are largely driven by communities themselves under the guidance of National AIDS Council and the Provincial AIDS Committee and the developmental partners. The interventions are in sync and blend well with this year's World AIDS Day 2023, which says, and I quote, "Let communities lead," unquote. With communities at the forefront, we are assured to achieve the universal goal of ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. Your Excellencies and all the distinguished delegates, Harare Metropolitan Province enjoys peace and tranquility, not as portrayed by our detractors. I therefore urge our visitors to find time and enjoy some of our beautiful sights in and around Harare. Before I conclude my welcome remarks, it is important to note that some cases of cholera in some parts of our high-density suburbs were recorded, but the situation is under control. I would therefore urge all our visitors to follow prescribed guidelines and protocols of cholera prevention given by our Ministry of Health and Child Care. With this, I wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you, Ndatenda Siabonga. Obrigado. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for welcoming us to the Sunshine City of Harare. And indeed, when it comes to the response, the HIV response, let communities lead, like what he said. We are going to have the welcome address by the ICASA 2023 and SAR President, Honorable Dr. Pagwesese David Parenyatwa.
Director of Programs, Tariro Makanga. Let me recognize His Excellency, the President of Zimbabwe, Dr. Edie Mnangagwa. Let me also recognize the President of the Republic of Botswana, sorry, of Mozambique. Dr. Yutsi. Let me recognize the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs, but before I do that, I think we need to recognize our two Vice Presidents, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, General Retired CDGN Chiwenga, and also retired Colonel Kembo Kebo Digish Mohadi. Let me now recognize the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Harare, Charles Tawengwa, the Minister of Health and Child Care, Dr. Douglas Mombeshora, who is also the Vice President for ICASA 2023. I would like to recognize also the UN AIDS Executive Director, Winnie Binyam, the Regional Director for WHO, who is also sitting here, Dr. Moeti, and also the UNFPA Regional Director, Lydia Zigomo. I will now write on the protocols that have been said so that we can move forward. Otherwise, we'll make more mixtures. But Your Excellency, the history of HIV and AIDS in terms of fighting HIV and AIDS has been long. It's almost over 40 years. I know that in this country, the first case of HIV was picked up in 1985 among a blood donor. And since then, we've been fighting HIV and AIDS. And within the region, that is what has been happening so far. But we forget that that time, when you got HIV, it was almost like a death sentence. And we're burying here in Zimbabwe 3,000 people per week because there was no treatment. Now, Your Excellency, there is treatment. There is hope. There are a lot of people now who are living normal lives on ARVs. And we want to applaud the science that has led to that. Your Excellency, this particular conference is based on the fact that Society for AIDS in Africa, which was started in 1989 by African luminaries who felt that the fight for HIV had been centered in Europe, in Paris, in Canada, in Australia, and they felt that no, the epicenter of the virus was in Africa. So they decided to form the Society for AIDS in Africa. And this was formed in 1989 in DRC. Since then, the Society for AIDS in Africa has then Every 2 years, they've organized a conference called ICASA, which is the International Conference on AIDS and STIs. And this is such a conference. 2 years ago, we had the same conference in Durban, but it was virtual because of the COVID virus that was raging at the time. So it has been every 2 years we've had this ICASA. This year, Your Excellency, we have already registered 4,500 people who are attending this particular conference, both virtually and physically. And we're pleased that when we started with the First Ladies. We started in Victoria Falls with the First Ladies who were articulating how to fight HIV to prevent a child getting HIV from their mother. The PMTCT is something that has to be emphasized. And our First Ladies articulated that very, very well. And we are pleased that at least 8 African countries of First Ladies were represented at that particular conference. Together with our UN bodies, they were all there. And that really strengthened the fight against HIV in terms of prevention of mother-to-child transmission. So we are also happy, Your Excellency, that the issue we emphasize as ICASA is anchored on 3 principles. That as we fight HIV, the first thing we do is to look at the science. When you fight HIV, it's not guesswork, it's science. We have to fight HIV scientifically. And that is what is being done. That's the first thing. So whatever treatment we get, whatever advices we get from the technical people is based on science. The second issue is that we base it on the communities. The communities must lead. And when we say communities, right up from the top, right to the bottom, those communities have a lot to contribute. Often we tell them what to do, but if you go to the communities, they will tell you what affects them, and that always helps us. So communities are very, very key. These communities include people living with HIV. Communities, we're talking about all diverse type of people. We're talking of our partners, our donors. We're talking of leaders in the communities, like traditional leaders. All those people come together, and indeed, they what constructs our way forward. The third axiom is leadership. We must always have leadership when we fight HIV. And I'm glad, Your Excellency, have led from the front. The political will is definitely there, and is really demonstrated by you being here. And as Society for AIDS in Africa, I would like to thank you very heartily for engineering that ICASA comes to Zimbabwe. And it has come in full force. You won the bid. I really want to thank the government of Zimbabwe, sir, that you have done well. You are supporting us. You are pushing all the resources that are needed, the security, the protocols, everything is in place. And we are, I'm sure, going to have a resounding successful ICASA. When we fight HIV also, we must include now the fight against TB, because TB and HIV are very related. 80% of the people who are TB positive are also HIV. So it's important to include TB as we fight HIV. Now we know also hepatitis B is passed the same way as HIV is passed. So we have also targeted hepatitis as ICASA. The third thing we've targeted as ICASA is malaria. We know that if you're HIV positive and you're not on treatment and you catch malaria, the consequences are more dire than if you're on treatment. So they are also related. So we fight HIV, TB, malaria, hepatitis B, and this, I think, is the comprehensive approach that we want. Finally, Your Excellency, we need to tell our youths who that dividend is where HIV is grown most. The youths, and we had a conference, pre-conference of the youth this morning here. The youth must be alert and go back to what we used to do. Behavioral change, condom use, the very basic things that we used to do to prevent HIV. And that the youth must go back to, because it's now being compounded by alcohol abuse and drug abuse. So now HIV, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, all those things must be packaged appropriately for the youth so that they're able to fight HIV in reality. Finally, we have here satellites, meetings. We have plenaries, that will be about 23 plenaries. We have abstracts that are over 800. Of our scientists, our researchers, our communities. We have a huge community village outside, where the communities from all over Zimbabwe and around can go there and exercise what they know about HIV and talk about it. We have got exhibitors on the other side, Your Excellency. We've got over 30 exhibitors, people who are supporting this and are exhibiting what they think can help us with HIV. We also have, and I think this is very, very important, sessions like these ones, plenaries, but also special sessions, where we think that people have got something very special to offer, are given a platform to talk and share with us. So let me apologize again, Your Excellency, for the salutations that were quite mixed up, but it happens. But in the whole, I'm pleased that this has been good, and I hope that we will have a very fruitful ICASA 2023 in Harare. Thank you. Obrigada.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parerenya.